Hi, morning everybody, it's Nick. I'm very much enjoying lazy mornings because it's the school holidays, although I am actually sat here working, so it's not too lazy, it's just a really nice way to work. But what I wanted to talk today about was the article I wrote on the menopause. This vlog isn't just about the menopause, but it's about the principle that's come from that article. So a few weeks ago now, I was having a really bad day, a really bad day. The thing about the menopause is it really amplifies feelings. So things that you might be a little bit worried about or feel a little bit sad about are very, very much amplified. And it just feels like you're just so lost and out of control, and you just can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Which of course you do get to. It's a little bit like, it's just like a storm that does pass. But the point I wanted to make is there's been a really, really massive response to that article, and that response is still ongoing nearly 4 weeks later. What that tells me is a couple of things. Yes, there are a lot of women out there that need support, that need to connect, that need to know they're not alone while they go through this really, really confusing and very, very difficult time. It's quite perverse because it's also quite a liberating time in lots of ways. But what it also tells me, and this isn't just restricted to the menopause, I think this is applicable to life in general, is just how desperate we are to be able to tell the truth about how we really feel. And I do try and do that, and sometimes it's easier than others. And I haven't told my whole truth about stuff. I've told the stuff that I'm brave enough to do right now, but it's not my whole truth. And it just made me think that I think it's quite sad. I think it's quite sad that we're living in a world where it is so difficult to tell our truth. So the reality is that life isn't always great. It's not always sparkly. We don't always feel okay. And simply telling ourselves to pull ourselves together and to be grateful for what we have, to go on, some voyage of discovery, and there'll be a eureka moment, etc. That's not really how it is in my experience. Life is full of ups and downs, and of course the irony is you don't really appreciate the ups unless you have the downs. And I've just read somewhere actually that for privileged people, they really don't appreciate privilege because they have it, and there's something so true in that, and that can be applied to lots of different scenarios. And that's the point I want to make, is that if we really want to make our world a better place and to be able to connect to each other and to be able to really accept and embrace ourselves and other people, okay, because it's not just about embracing ourselves. If we can't embrace ourselves, then there's no wonder we judge other people. Then I think we have to be able to tell the truth. And sometimes the truth is quite harsh. Sometimes the truth is, I just feel shit. There isn't a solution. Sometimes you just have to sit with that discomfort, which is very much along the theme for anybody who watched my vlog on grief, because grief and death is the biggest, most uncomfortable truth that, we are so resistant to facing because it is so unsolvable. There isn't something that's going to solve that for us. We are going to have to face it, so we resist it greatly. And that's what I wanted to say, is that the article and a lot of the articles are simply about telling the truth. And people say it's brave and inspiring. And I'm very honoured and humbled to receive that feedback. But on the other hand, I don't think it should be brave and inspiring, because I'd like to live in a world where it's okay for people to say how they really feel and not to be judged for it, and not to feel that people are going to think any less of them, or that it's bad for them to feel like that. Okay, because sometimes we all have difficult and bad thoughts. Sometimes we all have shitty days. Sometimes we all get it wrong. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we say things we wish we hadn't. Sometimes we think things we wish we hadn't. And that doesn't make us a bad person. That makes us a human being. And I think the worst thing is when we feel very alone and that we are a really bad person because nobody else thinks like that or nobody else feels like that. I think that makes it worse, and I think it disconnects us, and I think it forces us inside ourselves, and I think it forces us to layer up, and it forces us to actually deny ourselves even more. So that's the point I want to make, really, is that I really think it's okay for us to share and tell our truths. And what I think it does is it liberates us and it helps us to really connect. Because certainly for me, you know, in my darkest periods, the one really big thing that's always been in my head is, this is just me. You know, when I had postnatal depression, this is just me. I am the only bad mum in the world. But, you know, when I shared it, I found that I wasn't the only person feeling like that. There was a lot of people feeling like that. When I shared the thing on the menopause, I found there's a lot of people feeling like I'm feeling. We don't have to do this alone. You know, there's nothing wrong with us. We're not bad people. We're just people having some difficult and challenging circumstances, because actually that's what happens when you're a human being. That's what life's about. So I would like us all to be able to share our truth a little bit more openly. No, not a little bit, a lot more openly, without fear of judgment, because actually I think it brings us closer. It doesn't push us apart. So that's what I wanted to say today. Please share your truth. You can certainly share it with me, and I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to embrace it. Okay, take care. All the best. Bye.